Sage.
Hi. Hi, can you hear me?
I can. That is a very green background.
Oh shoot. Hi.
I don't know. I don't know how to
Wait.
work the background function on Zoom.
No, I gotta change it. This is for we're doing a show tomorrow, and this is what was just on
Oh,
my last Zoom call. So this might be a pickle because I don't know how to change.
you're welcome to leave it. I mean, it doesn't affect me in any way.
Okay.
Works. Then you don't have to fix it. Set it back tomorrow.
Choose virtual background. Okay, we got it. We're
There
back.
you go. All right, cool.
Okay.
Do you want to hype that show for tomorrow? Give it some airtime.
Sure. I think it's a Stab and Oakley like game show. So if you want to chat about it, that's cool.
Yeah, tell me. What do you know? And is it specifically for quarantine while everybody's locked up, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then are we recording?
We're live. I'll give you a proper
are we?
introduction in post, but we're live.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay, because I was like, shit.
Actually, not
Oh,
actually
yeah.
live. I'm recording, but I'll publish tomorrow.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's a cool game show that Stab and Oakley are doing, and they're pretty much just evolving some of our Oakley team writers like me, Philippe, Griffin, Kanoa. We're gonna be answering some trivia questions and like going up against each other. So the winner gets to donate $5,000 to any charity of choice. And pretty much it's whoever knows surfing the best, which I'm feeling a little blonde going into, but we'll see.
Yeah, I think first of all, big news from Oakley. You're a longtime sponsor. Oakley's reinvesting into the surf space, so that was nice to see.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, I've been with Oakley since I was 14 and
Crazy.
I'm 30 now. So it's been a long time. And, action sports is hard, right? The industries go through a lot of phases, ups and downs, and surfing's had a hard time, I think, for a few years, as far as like sponsorships and for the tour and just money and whatever. So to see Oakley coming back in as a global sponsor is incredible. And I couldn't be happier.
It's funny. It's interesting how the nature of sponsorships has changed.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going to bring this up as it relates to you with Outerknown. Just the whole landscape has changed, right? I mean, like surf videos have changed, the way that people promote themselves, contest results aren't even relative to a lot of surfers that make a living off of surfing now with vlogs and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Talent actually isn't a main criteria, like there's a lot
Mm-hmm.
of the best surfers in the world, Connor O'Leary or somebody, like don't have a sponsor right now.
Sick. Yeah.
And then other surfers are making a legitimate living off of YouTube who aren't that talented, but they're super entertaining.
Right,
So
right.
I think it's actually wise for Oakley to not just keep like sponsoring an event just because we've done that for 20 or 30 years, but to reevaluate what the nature of the relationship is and provide more value and probably get more value out of it.
I definitely agree. I think that a lot of industries, I can speak to surfing because that's what I'm in, right? So I feel a little bit more not entitled to speak into it, but I understand it a little bit more than others. But I feel like, surfing's kind of gone through this identity crisis in a lot of ways because, even for the WSL, the intention is to make it more mainstream, right? And to get people, more people surfing and to get more eyes on our sport and kind of like elevate it to like a legitimate platform, at least where we get viewership. And normally I think with data, the more viewers, the more sponsors, more money, the more ability you are to be able to have events and tours and whatever, have a successful business. And so I think in surfing, it's like, for us to be a mainstream sport, we had to go more conservative, more commercial, more professional. Maybe that appeals to the everyday person. And then I think really what everyone's been seeing is, now the endorsement deals and things are more towards the individual and who they are, not necessarily just kind of this broad, similarity to everyone else. But I don't know if people say shit or if people have like real videos or YouTubes where they show their personality, or it's just there's a realness that's been lacking. And so I think that, for Oakley, it's like they've come in and they've identified individuals in their expression, but then at the same time they go like, okay, the heart of a lot of our surfers are competing. And that's a big part of their identity. So we're going to support that, and we're going to support that across a lot of sports, you know.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad that they're back, you know, which is great, and on a global level. And especially in a time like now, you know, to be with someone that's committed, it feels nice to have that.
That's awesome. I about kind of growing surfing to a broader audience and making steps towards being more conservative in order to do that. I'm going to propose an argument against that, and you're welcome
Yeah.
to take the WSL side if you want, but you don't have
Uh-huh.
to. They certainly are making those.
Depends if I'm gonna get in trouble. No, I'm just kidding. Am I
Yeah,
gonna get in
exactly.
trouble? Are my
Don't get in
scores?
trouble.
Yeah, my scores going into the first event, depending on what I say, going to be 3s or 8.
You just said authenticity matters, so I want you to be authentic.
Okay.
If not for the WSL, for your sponsors. So it's clear what the WSL has chosen that path, which is let's steer towards conservative so that we appeal to a broader audience. I would argue that that is a fool's errand, and that you'll end up just alienating the core, and the people, the broad market actually won't even aspire to be the core anymore. The reason why kids in middle America would buy Billabong or whatever was because of Andy Irons, or Quicksilver because of Dane Reynolds. And those guys weren't ever hedging. They were always being themselves, their authentic self. And so I always point to the example of the UFC, where 10 years ago, you never would have,
Savages.
you never would have expected that to be mainstream. And the UFC never once wiped the blood off the fighters. They leaned into the brutality of that, so much so that their CEO gets up in front of the mic and cusses, or he calls out a fighter who doesn't bring their A game and stuff like that. And by catering towards that kind of core, they've expanded. Now the core is giant, you know?
Right.
It's interesting.
Yeah. No, it's super interesting. I mean, UFC is brutal. Like, I don't know. I've gone through seasons where I've watched it, and then I've gone through seasons where I was like, wait, is this inhumane? Like, how can I look, I know it, if I'm sold, obviously, because I can convince myself that watching other people harm each other is a sport, and there's a practice, and there's an art behind it. And whether that's a marketing tool or that's true, it's worked for me. But I think though there is a sense of rawness, and there's a sense of uncertainty, and there's a sense of, there's work that goes into it. And then there's this moment where no one knows what's going to happen. You know, it's so intense that at the blink of an eye, something, someone could get knocked out, something crazy can happen. And so I think, in surfing, sometimes if we're leaning more towards a commercial audience, it gets pretty boring. What's going to be said, it's going to be seen, there's going to be a pretty image, and that just gets old. Like it's just, that's just normal with anything. You look at the same people doing the same things. It's when something is different, it catches your eye. I think that's like instinctual within ourselves, or so I hope that there's more kind of free expression that is portrayed by WSL. It's hard because I feel for them in ways too, because they're limited to who will work with them because of what content is produced, and there's a very fine line in that. And so it's like it's a rough place. Like, all I can say in my defense is, as an athlete, I'm treated well, and I'm my tour on the women's side with equal pay, and the respect that we're given and the voice from them is heard. So, as an athlete, it's a great place. And I'm curious to see, with everything pandemic and all this, it's a huge upshift in everything. So I think it's a good time to either move in a different direction, or maybe try different things, or
totally. And they certainly are. And a lot of those kind of the rescheduling, the shuffle of the events was set in motion before COVID.
Crazy. So freaking crazy. Yeah.
So let's talk about 2020 first. I'm curious how 2020 affected your surfing, how you think it's going to affect your career, because in one sense, it's really a rare opportunity to have time to rest and reset when normally you're traveling year round. But in the other sense, it cuts right into prime time of your career, like
Yeah,
one of the optimal performing
for
times of your
sure.
career, and you miss a year.
Yeah.
So do you think that it'll benefit or hinder your competitive career ultimately?
It's hard because I think, I mean, the pressures of culture, society, of age, I did turn 30. And so, I have certain goals that I want to hit before I get to a certain age because I don't know, for me personally, as a female, like I want to have kids or a family. And that is something in my life that I think that I really want. With COVID, there was parts of me that I had to ask myself, like, I love being on the road, so much, and I love traveling, and I'm just used to it. I used to move houses like every year when I was younger, new schools, and so I think it's in my nature to be a mover in some way. And then I tried to do kind of like the stay-at-home thing, and um, that was interesting. There's parts of it that I enjoyed, and then I would almost build an anxiousness to go. And I don't know if that's just because of the times I created like a security uh, kind of zone or blanket for myself. But I think, I don't know, it's just a part of like the steps it takes to be able to adapt. Like anything uncomfortable now is comfortable because there is no comfortable. Like
Yep.
that's completely different. Whether that pertains to surfing or in a heat, because my conditions are always changing. It will be interesting to see if those things that had nothing to do with the water or surfing will affect my performance. So like those things are exciting. So it's given me this new outlook of, possibly doing different types of work in myself that will help me compete or perform, or, even now respond or react. Like it's kind of like it 2020, like I'll see what 2020 did in 2021,
Right.
hopefully,
Yeah.
if the tour,
Well,
in my personal life and my, you know, competitive life.
you finished fifth in event number one, so that seems like a strong start, right?
For me, yeah, that's a strong start.
I mean, that shows that you came in despite having that year off. You came in with a certain level of tenacity.
Right, right.
Um,
And that's what I love, because if there's no excuses there, in the sense of I came off one of the hardest years, I've seen or people have seen, and I did well. So to me, that's an indication that I did well with the diversity and the change. And so that's affirming, as a
yeah.
person. Like that's nice.
Did so you were the first of the four heats that ran at Pipe after the event got
Yeah.
moved from Honolulu. Going into that heat against Tati, did the move to Pipe feel like a risk or an opportunity for you?
I only viewed it as an opportunity, with the shark attack. Like I was in the water that morning. Um, and I actually got the best waves, or I surfed the best I've surfed the whole time I was there, those few waves before the shark attack. And so I had, like even at the moment I had like chills, and I thought after I got good waves in the morning, I thought the chills were from um the good wave I surfed. Like, okay, this is game day, like, I could win, or I feel it. Or the chills could have been because I get them right now, like talking to you. Like it could have been that there was a shark in the water,
Yeah,
or what was going to happen. Like it's crazy. Like I seriously, my whole body, like, um,
that is crazy.
and I think, I don't know. What I knew in my spirit is that I didn't feel right competing in Maui, in Honolulu, like for the place's sake and for the guy that got attacked sake. I was like, I put my hand up first in our meeting, 2 hours later, being told that, we're probably going to go to Pipe, one of the scariest waves in the world, the gnarliest waves, hardly have ever surfed there. And I put my hand up and I just said, I don't feel right going out to Honolulu and, seeking for my own victory and me winning when someone, something so tragic just happened. Like this place needs to like lay to rest, and this guy, and they deserve the respect that they do. And if I'm being honest, was I freaking nervous as hell to go to Pipe? Like absolutely. But I think in my life, I've always looked at things as I only know what I know. And if nothing presents itself that makes me uncomfortable or out of my control, then I'll never grow. So I'm like, I don't really like big waves, and I am afraid to be held underwater. And I am afraid of reef. But does that say I can't do it? I don't know. Like, I wanted to look at it as an opportunity. And especially beginning of the year, I was like, okay, God, like this is a big learning curve for me, you know, going into the year. If I can tackle something as huge as surfing pipe for the first time on the tour for the women, I'm a part of history, and I'm pushing myself where I wouldn't. So yeah, I saw it as an opportunity. I would have liked to surf, you know, not without the shark attack. I would have liked to finish that event in Maui in the sense of,
Yeah.
I felt really good surfing wise, and I had good momentum. But you know, it's okay.
Yeah. What did you do to prepare for pipe?
Every day. So that night I packed up, went to Oahu as soon as I can. We got told like get over there as fast as we can. We could be competing in the next 2 days. Like it was very rushed, you know, because our second event wasn't going to be till a month later at sunset. So there was a lot of time intended. I made myself every single day until we surfed. I made myself surf sunset or pipe, only 2 waves. Didn't matter the size. It was either there or there. I paddled out to sunset. It was, you know, huge. I paddled out by myself, and sat in the channel. I gave myself the space. It was like, I don't care if I'm the furthest person in the channel, like however long it takes, like every day that I go out here, or every hour that I move closer to a bigger wave or closer to being comfortable, like that's my process. And that's okay. But the first step is me getting out here, because I didn't even, you know, parts of me didn't even want to do that. And or pipe, you know, and that's what I did every single day. And there was one day at pipe I paddled at sunset, but I didn't paddle at pipe because it was freaking, Chris had paddled out and she had Jamie O'Brien, and I was like, I can't do it. Like I can't. Even Tati did it, and Tati was who I was going to be competing against, and I was like, I just can't. Like I can die. Like 100%. I'm looking at waves that I'm like, if that broke in front of me, I could die. And I was like, I can't. I can't risk it.
So what do you do moving forward? I mean, there's a real possibility that pipe ends up on the women's schedule. And how do you prepare against those fears that you're talking about?
Well, I think just more time in the location, you know, more time spent out there, and giving myself the time to get comfortable with it and understand, like big wave surfing and surfing pipe, like there's just things that they look impossible. Like when I was out surfing and I was watching Jamie or John or anybody, like the way that the wave breaks, like this is impossible to me. I don't know what line, how to get down this. Like I can get down this, yeah. So like things that were impossible watching these guys. But the more I went out, I understood like, oh, the way that you lean, like, so if you're on a 6-foot wave, I know this is so technical and like nerdy, but it's, you know, it's like really cool things. But if you're on a 6-8 foot wave, like I'd always lean back, right? And then you put your nose up and then you overcompensate, you nose dive and you just eat shit, or you go over the lip. When I always hear like those things, like you have to commit, blah, 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 you know? And I'm like, you really have to commit, because when you're going down a 6-8 foot wave, you have to lean forward so you keep a rail in that wave so that you actually hold a line. I didn't know that. Like I didn't understand that concept until I was actually out there. And I'm like, who the hell leans forward off a 6-8 foot cliff? Like, and then goes, oh, I'm going to like trust that this is going to happen. The only way that I learned that was over time and putting, you know, like being aware and like focus. So I think it's just more time in the water, and allowing that space, and just understanding that things that look impossible aren't, but there is a formula.
So who taught you that formula? Who told you exactly what you just told me?
That was like self-observant.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to ask.
I mean, my mind was so blown. I have amazing people that help me, but as far as like that realization, that was an experience thing.
Carissa, you said was working with Jamie, and obviously Tati was working with Ross that event. Do you have a coach throughout the rest of the year? Do you rely on specific people at specific stops?
I mean, I have like amazing people of like that are like family and friends. Like not, I mean, they are friends. They're like brothers and coaches. But in the past, Tommy Whitaker, he's been my coach for like 4 or 5 years. He's from Australia. Like he's been with Oakley since I have been, and he was on tour, and so he's helped. And then as of like a year and a half ago, Jimmy Hogan, he's like this old school like core surfer, originally from California. he's just like he's a bulldog. Like he loves to compete. He eats, breathes, sleeps, surf. And I think I have an appetite always for different ways to go about something or different ways to see something. And so, you know, some people could be like, oh, well, it's unloyal to not stay with one person. And to me, I think that lacks seeing or being introduced to a new perspective. If that makes sense.
It does. Of course it does. Yeah.
You know, so I love looking at it that way. It's not that I'm using someone else and not being loyal to the other. It's like I'm a like high level competitor. So it's like the more information that I can get or eyes, the better. And even like Nathaniel Kern, he's been like my best guy friend since I was 15. And he knows me so well as a person that even to have him help me was like, he could take care of the emotional insecurities I would have of like understanding, you know, I'm not comfortable and how to respond in that way. So, I mean, I didn't have a local, you know, Carissa does well. She hires every local at pretty much every location.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes I think that's a huge advantage. And I think some of us girls feel that too. And we're not in a place to be able to do that, whether it's, you know, financially or whatever. So
does Jimmy travel with you?
Jimmy's the man. Jimmy, yeah, he traveled to Australia with me last year. And then he came to Hawaii and did some coaching, a few events. I think he had some things on. He's the head coach for the Olympic Costa Rican team. So he's pretty busy too.
Yeah.
But that's kind of something too. I get a little overwhelmed at events. So I kind of get into like a spiritual kind of place. And so I'm finding as I get older, I really like the time coaching spent outside of the window. And then I like to be in my own kind of system during the event. So, but we talk all the time. He runs me through like game plans and he loves to talk.
Yeah. I presume that you were looking forward to both Snapper and Bells. Yeah. Do you think that this reshuffling of the schedule benefits or threatens you in your chances?
Benefit.
Does
Easily.
it?
Yeah. Like why? I won the QS twice. Like I've fallen off tour. I'm one of the only surfers that has taken a year to get right back on 3 times. And these waves are in QS conditions. I do great in beach breaks. I love unpredictability and crappy conditions. And, you know, so I think it really helps me, honestly. So
that's a good point. I was having this conversation with somebody and I didn't mention names, but I said that exact thing. I was like, you know, who's going to do well is whoever has proven at QS kind of level waves, but with CT level competitive savvy, like that'll bridge the gap, you know, because I don't know, some of the on the male side, like Jack Robinson, I was really looking at him for Sunset and G-Land and that stuff. And now it's like, oh shoot, how is this going to affect him?
Right. Yeah. But I think everyone's fantasy teams are going to look a lot different than probably what originally, just like you're saying, for sure.
Totally. So what about, so if Teahupo'o runs and it's pumping 8 feet, do you view that as an opportunity or a risk?
It's opportunity.
Because it's the opposite of what you just said.
Exactly. And so that's why for me, it's like everything's an opportunity because like, you know, in my career, it's time like to push myself even more, you know, like, and it's my job. Like as crazy as it is to watch the highlight reels of people eating shit and people getting work, like that's supposed to be me too, you know, like that's my job. So am I going to be, you know, scared as hell? Like, probably. Do I have time to prepare? Yes. Is that my first choice of having a left on tour? No. Would I like a wave that I can just turn and rip? Yeah. But you know, what do? Those are things out of my control, but it's my job to like show up and do the best that I can. Like, can I get the other thing is for me, I always think about my brother would always tell me like, you can get the best shot of your life. Like you've got not security, water patrol, you've got every camera on you. Like if you're gonna go for it, now's the time to go for it. So I always think that in the back of my head, like, oh, I want the big photo of me at Teahupo'o, like a crazy wave in a jersey, like when I'm all grandma looking back. And
you can get the best wave of your life too out there, just period.
Exactly. Yeah.
So you mentioned kind of the ebbs and flows of your competitive career, falling off tour a couple of times, but then also coming back and winning events almost immediately thereafter. And I feel like you really have reinvented your surfing almost
Thanks.
each time. Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank
What do you attribute that inconsistency to? And then how do you kind of mitigate against the
you.
inconsistencies?
Yeah, it's a big question. Not that I get jaded in different areas. I don't know. I fell in love with different things along the way. Like, so it's hard for me. I wasn't engraved to just compete or to think about competing. I don't like, and that's a battle I've had with myself. Like, there's a lot of me that is dependent on it because I love it so much. And I appreciate the work that goes into it. But there's a part where I don't go to bed thinking about, winning or beating girls, or like, it's just naturally not there. So I think there's inconsistencies because I focus on different things, or I'm not as excited about competing, or, I mean, even my talent development has taken a long time for me to truly feel confident in my talent, that, I do have enough talent as the top girls. And I think, that was kind of a battle. And then I think I don't know, I do well with a little bit of fight back. I'm used to it kind of in my life. So it's like when I have the pressure of the fight back, I perform. And I perform under pressure. So when I'm kind of like, not lazy, because I don't think I'm a lazy person, but when I'm fired up, or there's pressure, I do better. But it's a fine line, right? Because then I put myself in these pressure situations that are uncomfortable and intense instead of just be consistent. I think I am now, though. I think that's what the difference is. I truly believe in myself and in the time it's taken to feel what I feel in my mind and confident. And then I do trust my ability, and I do trust the development process of technique and positions being hit, and like actually breaking those things down before I just go out and surf. And I think I've also always had a will to be better. I just naturally have that. Like, what can I change? What can I do? Like, I don't let myself feel victim to my circumstance, and in a way of like, I can only control what I can, and what I can't, how can I be better, or how can I adapt, or I can watch someone and not be like, I'm not a jealous person, so I can look at someone and be like truly thankful for their example, because I myself, I don't feel like I'm a pioneer. Like, I don't like being the first, and so I like references. So I don't know, I just watch. And
In the years where maybe you weren't having the best competitive year, maybe 2018 or something, are you less happy? Are you less happy when you're losing?
Happy. I don't think I ever lose my joy. I don't think I lose my joy as a person. Do I get disappointed or discouraged or down? Sure. Yeah. Like, I try and maintain a happy physique because I know that should tell the inside that I'm happy, and therefore, but yeah, like, it's sad. Losing sucks. Like,
Okay.
I don't think that will ever change. Like, I think I don't take it as personal now. And I think that's a testament to anything in life, is a lot of times what happens or other people's actions doesn't have anything to do with you. It has everything to do with them.
Yeah, of course.
So I think
Well,
that's a big thing.
the reason I ask is I question the happiness of the people who actually are winning at all costs, and they're just so tenacious, and you have to like sacrifice relationships and time. And I think maybe the ends justify the means and it's worth it. But I do question, like, is that a healthy disposition and headspace to live in for years on end? Whereas the way
I
that
think your post career is going to be really freaking hard.
or you just have to figure out how to shift into a different lifestyle. But kind of the way that you're explaining your disposition, it actually sounds like a healthier headspace, period. And so if you can have a good career and be happy throughout all of it, that's kind of a more complete existence.
Do you know me?
No, I'm listening. I'm a
my,
listener. I listen to what you say.
It's so great. Yeah, I mean, that's my whole thing. I think that's why I've limited pushing myself in areas, because the result isn't ultimately what makes or defines me, and a part of that is because not that I would rather live like have subpar results and live a happy life, but sometimes it is like sometimes I do want to enjoy the people that I travel with, and I do want to experience the places I go, and I do want to have fun, and I do want to surf more than I should before event day, and I do not like I'm really free in that way. And because those relationships, I really do emphasize like post career and like those bonds and things that I'll have for the rest of my life. Like this is only a little part of my life.
Totally.
And to be number one, like you do, just like you said, you sacrifice family time, relationships, boyfriends, like all of those things. And it's hard to do that. So I think you're right on. Like, I don't know the best of the best what their true like joy looks like, and if that's like compromised. But I know being an athlete, it's fucking hard. Like, yeah.
Well, you've got good years ahead of you in terms of competitively. And do you think that you can figure out how to do both things to win a world title and still maintain a healthy headspace?
Absolutely. I definitely think, um, sometimes I ask, I'm like, do I want to be world champ? I'm like, I don't know if I can see myself world champ as like gnarly as that is, um, because of what it takes. Like top 3, like I'd be stuck with top 3. Like, isn't that sad? Like people would be like, why would you limit yourself like that? Like, but there's parts of me that I'm just not realistic, but I don't know.
I think about the two people who defy everything that I just said that I could think of off the top of my head are Steph Gilmore. She seems to have figured it out. And I don't know if her initial world titles, she might have been more dogged in those initial world titles and then figured out kind of how to live in a healthier space afterwards. But then John Florence also, I feel like won 2 titles and then realized he had to be like a dogged competitor with the Zeke Lau incident and Bells maybe being the jumping off point. But John just won on sheer talent and I don't know what. And now moving forward with Gabriel and Idolo and guys, he's gonna have to find that next gear of competitive savvy to really go head to head with those guys. But both of them seem to have figured out the equation that we're talking about, I think.
Yeah, I think you just have to be creative, like, with who you travel with, where you spend your time, what you enjoy doing, what your priorities are. Like you're focused, but it's not very singular. There's a lot of context around, and it's making sure there's boundaries put in place. People always want to hang out. People always want to, they expect something from you. Sponsors have obligations. People, it's just like, it's a never ending, like you're always getting pulled from, your focus. So I think just being strong in like your, my boundaries of what I'm able to do and whatnot, and what requirements, and then just prioritizing like every day, what is a priority. So, my focus is on competing in the tour right now. So it's like those checklists come first before anything else. And the emotional, whatever sounds like not self-centered, but it's like I'm not responsible for anyone else's emotions of what I'm doing, because I know, but I also know that I check myself, like I'm not being rude, or I'm not being a bad person in the sense of like lying, cheating, stealing. Like I'm not doing those things. So however someone else feels around me or what that looks like, it's not to say it's not about them, but it's not about them.
You could be better to them if you're being good to yourself too.
Exactly. Yeah.
Congrats on the Outerknown deal.
Thank you. Isn't it pretty?
It is. Well, even having a main sponsor is a rarity these days. So it's no small feat.
Yeah.
So what do they expect of you and what do you expect of them?
They're the best. I love them so much. They expect me to be me. They expect me to do the things that I love, do it honestly. They expect me to give the earth respect, give people respect. They, they're wonderful company. The CEO, Walker, John Moore, head designer. I don't even know John Moore's designer. I mean, he's half co-founder with Kelly, but their team's just amazing. They're really holistic in the sense of like, they really do care about the planet, and they care about the future, and they care about the heart of people. And a lot of times that's connected to something on this earth, right? And I mean, they kind of just give me free will, which is, I always felt like that's how it's supposed to be. A lot of companies preach that, and they don't do that. You know, you live under a slogan, you live under a narrative, you live under a summary, your bio of, you know, what's kind of created, and they don't limit me in that space. They're actually, they teach me a lot too, you know, circularity, materials, fabrics, uses. It's crazy. I had no idea, you know, because that's my whole thing with them, is I didn't come in as like some sustainable god.
Right.
Even in the textile industry, like I didn't know that much. I knew how to care for, you know, what I can do to make a difference or a change, but I didn't know what exactly that looked like. And I think, yeah, I think what I expect out of them is just the same that they expect out of me. And they're really collaborative. Like a lot of companies say, oh, you're going to come in, like, welcome to the family, you know, like family this, family that. And you're not really included in areas, or you are until you're not needed. And I mean, I can sit in on the company meetings with them and listen to their numbers. I can listen to their strategy. I can listen to places that they're having a hard time in, you know, like, so that's cool. And I mean, I just am so honored. It's Kelly's company, you know, Kelly Slater, the best of all time, you know, took interest in me as whether a surfer or a person. And, you know, I've listened to a few podcasts of him besides the interactions that I've had in my career with him. And like, he's incredible, you know, like so multidimensional, so amazing. So actually like really caring. And it just feels good to be a part of it, you know?
Why do you think they picked you?
I don't know. God is good to me. I don't know. I think I don't know. Like I don't know. I work hard and I try and put my best foot forward, and I try and problem solve, and I care, and I don't know. I love people. I love the earth. I don't know.
I think it's a good fit. It was a good pick. I didn't see it coming, and when I saw it, I thought it was a perfect
Thank you.
alignment, perfect partnership.
Thanks.
Are they going to be disappointed when they hear what you said about you maybe not seeing yourself winning a world title?
I don't know, Walker, CEO, Kelly, like maybe.
I mean, ultimately, the question.
Right, that's the thing. I'm like, I can only be what I can be, like in the sense of say the truth. Like, I'm not saying that I won't get that vision, but I just like that's what I want. Like, I mean, yeah.
What I mean to say is, do they care if you're on tour or not? And then secondly, you said what the reason why they worked with you initially, or what they expect out of you, is for you to be authentic. Yeah, and you saying that is a very authentic thing. So that fits goal number one, but is goal number two for you to win a world, for them to expect you to win a world title, you know?
Yeah, no. So that was the big thing is when I had the conversation with Mark Walker, he's the CEO. I think I've said that like 5 times. You probably caught on to that. But when I had the conversation with him, we had a 2-hour conversation and just hit it off like from the start. And he, you know, in all honesty, he was like, Sage, I didn't want another surfer. We had no intention to hire another surfer. We don't need one. We've got Kelly. You know, I'm not looking for someone to meet requirements in their few posts and this, like, you know, I wanted someone that is going to be involved in the brand and the development process of the women's line and the marketing and sustainability, like multi-dimensional. And we stayed on the phone and we just like totally connected. And like the next day I had a contract presented. And for me, that was so cool to hear, because my contract's not dependent on a world title. Right. Or surfing in general. So that's freeing for my heart to, you know, because my heart's in competitive surfing right now, but I don't know where it will be in a few years coming, but I know that they'll still, you know, be behind me and supportive. And it's so nice, you know, like company sponsorships are so controlled. I can't tell you like enough about that. So
it feels like a healthier partnership that allows you to kind of it relieves a lot of the stress that maybe you might have for trying to honor an obligation in another situation.
Right. And you know what? To be honest, like that was something, because if I was to look at myself 6 years ago, and I have two sponsors, Freestyle, who's been with me since I was 14, in Oakley and Channel Islands. And like I barely had enough money. Ronnie Nelson at Oakley at the time, he was the one that gave me the contract that actually could keep me doing the qualifying series. Is like, I never wanted to be back with a brand that didn't actually believe in me. You know, I would rather be sponsorless and work where I needed to make up my money or whatever than live a lie. You know,
Yeah.
I was over it. So I feel like across the board, you know, the people I represent or that sponsor me, they don't care that I'm on tour.
Good.
You know, sure, it's nice, but I don't think they care.
Good.
I got a good Instagram people.
I know. So in preparation for this, I was on the WSL's website, and they have you listed, obviously, as they do with all the athletes. It said following 12K. Is that you? It has
I
your
follow 12 people.
No. It says, I thought that it was saying that your following on social media is only 12,000, which is either a typo or they're maybe talking about how many people follow you on their website.
It's like 340,000, not
I know.
12,000.
I know. It was confusing.
I'll let them know.
Yeah, I'll send an email to them and get them to update that.
12,000. I mean, that's cool too. They must be great 12,000.
So you just mentioned Channel Islands. What are you riding at Newcastle?
Ooh, I kind of went a little bit more. Well, actually, I got a Teahupo'o in there, which is the newest model. I kind of went back 2 years ago to my old models, like a Fever. Because it's a beach break, I'm riding like a Swallowtail Flyer, epoxy probably, which is my US Open board that I won on.
Is it the exact same board?
DFRs, I have that exact same board.
Okay, but that's not it.
That's been here for 2 years. Yeah. Oh. I mean, that's here. That's gonna be. I am gonna ride that board, but that board has actually been stuck in Australia for 2 years.
Oh my gosh.
Since last year, so I haven't ridden that, and so that will definitely be taken out. And yeah, so DFR, Fever, Flyer, Swallowtail, and then the Teahupo'o, their newest model. I couldn't stand the Happy. I love you guys, Channel Islands. You're the bomb. Couldn't stand the original Happy. The Teahupo'o is incredible. I can't actually get off it. All conditions, just fast, responsive. I would say I'm doing some of my best surfing on that board.
Can you explain the design difference between the Happy and the Teahupo'o, or should I rely on Britt Merrick for that?
Yeah, I'd say Britt when he did the podcast. Yeah, no, he'll get all nerdy and technical. I trust them to do what they do, and then I just am the salesperson that makes it look nice.
Yep, winning events on it. What day are we in of quarantine? Is this day 9?
Mm-hmm.
How's it going?
It's good. I've had a lot of meetings today, which has been nice to kind of get through it faster. I loved up till day 5. I was like in heaven. I was like, I could be in here forever. Like, this is so nice. Like, I can, my environment's controlled somewhat. My apartment's like really nice. And then day 6 hit me. And I would say either day 6 or day 7 were probably the worst days. I just was like super unmotivated. And, it's like other surfers and things are posting like super funny videos and content. And there's kind of a pressure to produce content in here, and there's like parts of me that I was like, oh, I should be doing this, I should be doing that, and I'm like, I don't want to though. Like, why does it make a difference? Like, my quarantine experience can be different than someone else's. Like, I don't have to be workloading and like being busy. I'm like actually okay being relaxed and calm and like cruisy. And so I had talked to Tommy Witz, and he just said, like, if you're having an off day, just have an off day. Don't try and fill things in, because a little bit of guilt the next day is good to work off of. Like, you'll fire up even more. So like, I ordered nachos in bed, and extra nacho cheese, and so I lived it up, and then it was true. I was like even more productive. So it's good. I mean, we're freaking spoiled in here. Like, the other Australians that had to come to quarantine before all of us on this charter flight, like, they didn't get gift packages or 1-bedroom apartments, or, I had to pay for my upgrade. But at the same time, like, I had a treadmill, I have a bike, I have no excuse to be that unhappy in here. Yeah.
How are you utilizing the time to prepare for the next leg of the tour?
Reading, writing, working out, pretty consistent diet. I continued, like a lot of people have been sleeping in to try and like sleep through quarantine. I've been up at 5 or 4:30 every day because I want to maintain that similar time schedule.
Yeah.
I'm super productive in mornings, so that's a big thing. But yeah, mainly just that. Nothing too intense. We had an Olympian athlete come on our surfers call with WSL yesterday, and she talked about just how her experience was in post and getting out of quarantine and actually feeling really overwhelmed by the world stimulation and so many things going on, to just like kind of ease into the next couple days when I get out and don't try and fill up a schedule and feel count. I don't know if it's an athlete thing or a human thing, but you just want to like be super productive because it makes you feel like you're doing something, and sometimes it's not doing anything.
Yeah, or it just gives you anxiety too.
Exactly. And I feel
frazzled.
like there's so much anxiousness all the time. So
well, I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy day to chat. I know you got a bunch of Zoom calls, but we'll be looking forward to seeing you in Newcastle and anticipating a big win. Yeah.
Heat 3. Me, Chris, and Philippa Anderson.
How does that feel?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm excited.
Good. Well, we're excited. We're excited to watch, of course. All right. Best of luck.
Hey, thank you.
All right. See ya.